This is Grapplers Talk.
What is up, fans of Grapplers Talk? This is Dave coming at you with another episode each and every week. Thank you to all of the fans of the show for all of the love and support we get from you. Thank you for all the downloads we get each and every week and all the feedback I get telling me how much you guys are loving the content. And I'm excited for this episode. I'm sitting here with a gentleman in studio. I love having all these in-studio guests, too, because I'm getting to know these guys and getting to understand where they came from and their journeys through jiu-jitsu. And I'm excited to have on another other than the matchmaker for Arte Suave and jiu-jitsu black belt, Don Staben, man. What is up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and it is a pleasure to have you on the show and for you to take the time out of your day, man. I really appreciate your time and being a part of this and helping the fans understand what you do, man. Yeah. Very exciting to have you on. I just want to start with your journey through jiu-jitsu. I know we were talking a little bit before the show, but for the fans that aren't familiar with you, how'd you get introduced to it? Where you're actually from? Because you know we do a lot of the NorCal area, so we're kind of expanding our wings a little bit on Grapplers Talk. But let's hear your journey.
Yeah, no problem. So I was first introduced to jiu-jitsu through UFC #1. I watched it live on pay-per-view as a kid, and I wanted to obviously do that. So I started trying. I asked my parents, and long story short, it didn't work out for one reason or another. And then as an adult, I was going through a significant breakup. Who wanted something to occupy my time, so I started looking into jiu-jitsu. And I didn't quite find anywhere that fit for me too well. Eventually found one school that I was with for about 9 months, and ended up having to do a career change. I just got my blue belt blues, but I never even rolled in a blue belt. I was just awarded it, and eventually ended up going to starting my career, 12, 13 years away from the sport. Never really watching it. Every now and then watching some UFC, you know, if it was something really big. But I remember I kept seeing on YouTube, even though I wasn't looking for this content, I would see Keenan Cornelius's content.
Yeah.
He was probably going like pretty viral around that time.
Yeah.
Through YouTube. And I was like, oh, who is this guy? He's got some pretty good moves. And I would watch every now and then, but nothing extravagant. And then just day-to-day stress and life. And I started thinking, I really want to get back into doing this again. And so I went back and I started training at a school in the Bay Area. It was a good school. You know, it was a fun school. Opportunities to make some good friends and train and learn. And I at the time was really, really overweight. I didn't know I was at the time.
Yeah.
I was 295 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was a big boy. And
295, huh?
Yeah.
Man, now seeing you, I mean, you're like my size in here, dude. You're probably a little, 200 pounds maybe?
I'm right now, I'm 218.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
It's a significant drop, man.
It was. And
yeah.
I didn't even realize I was overweight, though, honestly, until I started seeing some before and after pictures or like people that would not recognize me.
Yeah.
When they'd see me, they were like, oh, man, I didn't even recognize you. You lost so much weight.
That's huge.
So yeah, jiu-jitsu saves lives. Jiu-jitsu is important for mental stability. And through that, I just kept training, and here we are now,
Yeah.
Fast forward.
Yeah, man. And going through jiu-jitsu, like it if you've never done any sort of a martial art like that, it's definitely a humbling martial art to get into. And, a lot of people quit jiu-jitsu. The turnover rate in jiu-jitsu schools, it's a tough road to go through because it takes a while to get good at. And it's easy to just kind of throw in the towel and, kind of get rid of your journey. But you stuck with it, you steadied the course, and now you're in a position to where you're at. Talk to me about how you got introduced into the Arte Suave organization, and the early days with that, and were you just a fan to start out with on that?
Yes, that's actually a good question. So the original school that I had started at in the Bay Area, Alfredo had come one day because Arte Suave was looking to buy some mats that the school was selling. They were selling the mats and for warm-up mats for the events.
Okay.
And Alfredo and I, we rolled one time. I was a purple belt at the time, and I was probably a few months out from coming back from ACL reconstructive surgery.
Yeah,
and,
that's a shitty one. Huh?
Oh, it's horrible.
Long recovery?
You know, I treated it like I was a professional athlete and pushed myself as hard as I could in the physical therapy world. And I was back to the mats in about 5 months.
Wow.
Very, very light training.
Yeah, but still.
But by month 7 after the surgery, I was back to competing.
Wow.
So Alfredo and I Alfredo came to the academy and we rolled. And then maybe, I don't know, a couple days later, 2-3 days later, I get a DM from the Arte Suave group, and it was Alfredo saying, "Hey, it's me, Alfredo. Would you be interested in competing with us?" And I was like, I never thought about it, but sure, why not? Yeah. And it was a open weight purple belt champion tournament that he was putting on. And so I said, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I was nervous, to be honest with you, just because everybody's watching you, and I'd never done that.
This is the early Arte Suave days, right? Probably the first couple cards?
No, I don't think it was the first one. It was probably, I think they had been around for maybe about a year at this point. So I guess it's early compared to now, but they were already kind of established. Yeah. Small, but established. And so I went and I competed on their purple belt open weight tournament and ended up winning the championship match, or championship tournament, I should say. And then eventually I got my brown belt and forfeit the title, right? Because it's a purple belt title.
Yeah. And is that how it works in the organization? Once you get promoted, you're no longer the champion in that division?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably accurate, because it's, if you're a purple belt and you get your brown and now you're still beating up purple belts.
Do you make them give back the belts?
No,
they can keep the belts as
they
trophies.
Keep the belts. Yeah, I still have mine.
Yeah, you ain't giving it back.
Come fight me for it. But yeah, so then from then on, I really enjoyed the show. I liked hanging out with the people that were running the organization at the time.
Got a good group of guys, right?
Yeah, it's a good group of people,
and people, yeah.
Yeah, it was a mixture of people, from just people checking fighters in to judging and commentary or whatever it was. And I'd asked Alfredo, "Hey, do you ever need any help? Let me know." I love jiu-jitsu. I live, eat, breathe this stuff, Yeah. So anytime I can contribute, give back in some way, even if there's no monetary gain, I'm okay with that. Right. I just want to be a part of this world because I really enjoy what it's given me, which is mental stability and health, physical health. Life. Excluding this right now.
Right. He's over here in a shoulder sling right now.
Yeah, it's surgery yesterday. So I would help out from time to time. Various things at the shows. Sometimes I'd be a judge. Sometimes I would be a ref. Sometimes I would check fighters in at the door. It didn't make a difference. Whatever the help was needed, I would do. And so that's kind of where I started with continuing to contribute with the organization.
Yeah. And so getting started, like doing kind of a jack of all trades is what a lot of the people have to do. They'll do multiple wherever they're needed in the night, right? Yeah. How did you get involved in the actual matchmaking section? Like obviously, you're doing scoring, you're doing reffing, all these different other things. How did you get devoted as the specific matchmaker and take a lot off of Alfredo's plate? Because according to him, he was doing a lot of the work up front, making the flyers, making the matches, all of the promotion behind it, running socials. And that's huge for, somebody that's just getting into the promotion game, Yeah. And even an experienced person, that's a lot of work to involve yourself. But when did it become a time to where you were going to take over a majority of those reins?
Don't remember which Arte Suave event number it was, but it was last year in Walnut Creek. They were getting ready to go do a show in San Luis Obispo, and Alfredo had reached out and asked me if I'd be interested in maybe helping do some matchmaking. It wasn't to take over all of it; it was just to kind of help out. And I was very nervous. Alfredo had mentioned it on his his portion of the podcast that I had said, man, this is your baby, you know, and it's true.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of time investment. I come through once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm not at every event. I'm not intimately involved.
Had you had known that market pretty well with being from the Bay Area, you know, the Walnut Creek market? That's
for
kind of
sure.
your group.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I know probably someone at almost every academy in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not the greatest friend, but I do know somebody. Acquaintance. Yeah. Something.
A lot of networking in jiu-jitsu.
In jiu-jitsu for sure.
Yeah.
You can meet people that are, you know, extremely wealthy to people that are just sleeping in their van. You know, it's a wide range of group. But so he'd ask me if I'd be willing to help out, and I from time to time would offer like, hey, I'd love to see this fight versus this guy. And sometimes he'd make it happen, sometimes he couldn't. And so for Walnut Creek, he'd asked if I could do it there. And then, so I started making a couple matches, but his main event had actually fallen through for San Luis Obispo. I don't remember the reasons behind why, but the main event, one of the fighters fell out, and he was just like, dude, could you help me in any way find a female athlete around 180 pounds or something like that?
Yeah.
And,
that can be tough.
It's
too.
very tough.
Yeah, especially in the female division.
Yeah. Female division, small market. You know, San Luis Obispo is not a big area for jiu-jitsu. Right. But luckily I had a friend that had just got her black belt. Wow. Her name's Paige Yvette. She trains out at Legion. Very, very well known down there. She will be a superstar one day for sure. So hopefully she hears this, and I can say that she's a friend. But yeah, Paige, I asked her if she'd be interested, you know, that we would get her up to San Luis Obispo and have her be the main event. And she accepted, luckily. And it was a very good match.
Saved the show, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she actually, she saved the main event and the show for sure.
Yeah.
Alfredo had to take a couple matches to help,
yeah.
You know, to offset some fallouts. But from there, I was like, man, I really enjoy seeing the process, because I'm now no longer just doing the door or just doing the judging. I'm trying to like watch everything to see what could be improved in some fashion. Yeah. And that's kind of where it all started from there.
Yeah. And you're kind of just getting these ideas off just being a big fan of the sport, right?
For sure.
And you know, you don't have much experience in promoting any events prior to this?
None.
That's pretty badass.
None. No. I just like jiu-jitsu, and I see people that I have opportunities to maybe offer some matches to and say, man, I think this would be a really good fight.
Yeah.
Most of the time it is. Sometimes it's not, but for the most part it is.
Right. So like, obviously you got to, you know, be able to follow these markets and get to know different areas of, you know, wherever you guys are promoting. Now it's crazy because you guys are all over the place now. You guys aren't just in Sacramento and Stockton and the local, you know, markets. You guys are going to Vegas and Phoenix and, down in San Diego. You know, there's a lot of different things going on in those places. How do you keep up with those different markets? And then, you know, obviously you mentioned something earlier to me about how it's different to keep up with the kids too. Let's talk about that as well.
Yeah. So that's one thing I really do enjoy a lot about the matchmaking is being able to put on matches that I'd want to watch, but also getting an opportunity to learn about this next generation that's coming up. Some of these kids are just extremely talented.
Beast. Yeah.
Oh man, it's so nice to see that 10, 11, 12-year-olds are moving like professionals.
Yeah, they really are.
It's really interesting. You know, there's a and now that we're kind of moving around, like you were saying, we're getting an opportunity to see a lot of these kids. At least for me, some of them I'm learning. Some of them are of Alfredo's known because he's been in this world a little longer. But like, there's a kid in San Diego named Xavier, trains at Atos HQ.
Yeah,
that kid's a stud. You know, he's 14, yellow belt. Doesn't matter what belt. He'll fight blue belts. He'll fight upper weights. He'll fight anybody. He just wants to scrap.
Yeah, that's badass for a kid to want to do that, man.
For sure. He was actually, his opponents fell out twice in San Diego, and each time he was trying to like find people with me. He was just like, I just want to get on the card. Yeah. And then there's like kids from Carlson Gracie Temecula, Sway and Sebastian, amazing jiu-jitsu. Seth and Ryder out of Carlsbad, they're great jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And now in Vegas, got to meet two other kids, really good, Nakoa and Mika. out of 10th Planet Las Vegas. Just some really talented kids coming up, and the future is going to be bright for them.
Yeah, there's so many kids coming up. And what do you think like the attribute is to that? Do you think a lot of these kids are just natural athletes, or like finding an outlet that they're really into? Or is it just they're in the right programs, and these, you know, these programs are getting better and better and evolving with the kids classes and getting to where you can develop these world champion youth athletes, you know?
Right.
Nowadays there's more avenues for competition, and there's more tournaments around, and you know, obviously we were just at one today, Jiu-Jitsu World League, you know, they got a ton of kids going in that.
Yeah.
And, you know, where years when I first started, there weren't kids tournaments. Like, I mean, there were barely adult tournaments,
right?
You know, so it was a real different world. And nowadays these kids have a lot more to be able to compete at, right?
I think it's a combination of things. Personally, I think not treating the children like children when you're training them. They have the ability to move just like us. They just need to be taught differently.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these instructors that are high level have the opportunity to teach these kids and have them become high level and developed in that high level world for a long time.
Yeah.
Some of these kids move better than me.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
Honestly, they really do.
I've seen it too. In Arte Suave matches, these kids, I'm like, wow, those kids are doing more advanced stuff than me. Like, my hips don't go like that.
Enjoy the flexibility while you can.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I think it's that, and I think that now you're getting more cross training between the wrestling and the judo with the jiu-jitsu that's being incorporated and allowing them to be a more well-rounded athlete. And the longer you train like that, the better you're going to become.
Yeah. I was talking to someone recently, and they run a wrestling program. And I feel like it's like a new generation of parents coming in, and like there's more combat sports for them to see. And so the first thing is, you know, they have a daughter or a son, they want them to get into something like wrestling or jiu-jitsu or boxing or some sort of combat sport, right? Mm-hmm. There's more of a draw to that. I don't know if it's just our generation as parents or what it is that's causing that, but there's definitely a huge shift where this stuff wasn't as popular at a certain point.
Yeah, I think maybe like our parents, they were really into the sweet science, boxing, right? And it's still a valuable thing to know.
Yeah.
But the UFC put a big hole in that.
Oh, yeah. Changed the game, right?
It completely changed the game.
And that's only been around for, 30-something years,
Yeah.
right? It's still fairly fresh. I mean, I'm in my 30s. I mean, you were a kid when this stuff was around. So, like, I mean, it's still fairly fresh in our generation, but we've been able to see, okay, this stuff actually works.
Yes, sir.
Like, firsthand, you know, there's a video that went viral a while back of a guy, and he rescued some lady that was getting assaulted.
Oh yeah, he was from 10th Planet Las Vegas.
Yeah, and he just went, and I mean, I don't think he was even like a brown belt or anything. He just went and grabbed the guy and took him down and controlled him, and the lady was able to get away. But that's incredible to see that works, you know, and you can survive and save someone's life. That guy's a hero, right, for doing something like that. But you know, for that generation to see like this martial art works, this is something I want to get my kids involved in is huge, you know. And talk about some of the interesting things with being a matchmaker. How many DMs are you getting of people trying to set up these crazy matches and do your job for you and really push to be on a card or something like that maybe may get annoying at some time?
Yeah, honestly, it's never annoying, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I enjoy when I see enthusiasm from a person trying to get on. The more interesting one is when they give me their picture, and then go, "Hey, when's the poster going to be ready?" And it's like, "Well, I need to get the other person's picture, and you just gave me yours 2 minutes ago."
Yeah.
So it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
And it's a slow release process the way we do it. We
Right.
don't just dump all of the posters at once. Kind of keep that algorithm active for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really get too many people asking hey, I'd love to see this fight versus that fight, kind of like what I was saying earlier through Alfredo. But I do get people saying, hey, is there any opportunity to get me on this card?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's in my personal DMs, sometimes it's in the Arte Suave one.
Yeah.
And I do my best.
Yeah.
But when we get to like the events, now that more people know who I am in regards to the matchmaking process, like last weekend we had the San Jose IBJJF Open, and same thing here at Jiu-Jitsu World League. People pulling me to the side, saying, "Hey, could you get me on?"
Right.
Which is fine. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. You know, closed mouths don't get fed.
Right.
If you
gotta
want on
ask
the
for
card.
the opportunity, right?
Yeah, for sure. You know, there are 35 to 40 matches, so at most 80 people,
Yeah.
and we may have 300 applicants.
Right.
And so, you know, we have to find the matches that are going to be interesting. And if you're willing to pull me to the side and say, hey, I want to get on the card, or you're, you know, sending a DM saying, hey, I'm really interested to get in.
Yeah.
You know, I know that that's going to help drive ticket sales. That's going to help drive pay-per-views. It's going to help push the brand in the most respectful way, obviously. And that's kind of what I'm looking for also, is
Right.
being able to help push the sport and the organization forward.
Yeah. And now you guys have a unique way you track everything, I'm sure, with you know, I know when you go to buy the pay-per-view, I believe there's a little question like what fighter are you supporting, or even with the tickets, right?
With the tickets there is, yes.
Okay, yeah, something along those lines. So what fighter are you supporting? So how do you guys keep track of that? And say you have somebody that's, you know, not doing well in the organization, but they could really push the numbers. How do you go about finding them a match?
So when it comes towards ticket sales, there are reports that can be run when by just searching by a fighter's name,
Yeah.
and seeing, you know, how many tickets they sold. The fighter ticket sales for pre-sale is where we track at the door. It's not tracked. Pay-per-views is something that Alfredo is currently working on adding, hopefully on this next card, fingers crossed, and help us get some more data.
Yeah.
But as far as people selling tickets, I don't necessarily try to push for whoever sells the most tickets, but it's an unfair fight, as an example.
Right.
I want to find interesting matches that work, and sometimes it happens to be two unknown people, and sometimes it has to be someone that, you know, has a 5-0 record or an 0-4 record.
Yeah.
But the matchup seems like it would be an interesting one. I'm mostly looking for interesting matches.
Yeah.
I think that's what helps sell tickets.
What do you think makes an interesting match in Arte Suave? What would you say is the most crucial thing or most valuable thing to have when going out there and being on that stage?
From an applicant perspective, or from like once the fights are about to go?
Let's say both, right?
Okay.
What's really going to be an applicant that's going to, you know, stand out the most to you, but also if you get on that stage, what's going to be like, hey, you know, this guy's a finisher, or what is it about that person that keeps you guys happy?
So from an applicant standpoint, some of the things that really stand out for me is when they put information in their commentator notes. And the commentator notes, that's usually your opportunity to brag about what you've accomplished. So if I see someone on there with like, hey, I have 5 world titles from, you know, blue to brown, and
Yeah.
I'm looking to get on the show, and this guy's going to be a finisher. Let's get him on. It's going to be a good match. Luckily, there are a lot of people that follow Arte Suave's Instagram.
Yeah.
And a good portion are open. So Arte Suave doesn't follow back everybody. But if I see what their Instagram handle is and I'll look at their Instagrams. I have a Flow account. I'll go on Flow Grappling and see, is this person a decision fighter or is this person a finisher?
Right.
Like we have one kid, and I say kid, he's 19. He's going to be on the February 15th card here in San Jose coming up.
Yeah.
His name's Josiah Tubby. This kid is amazing. Yeah. I've seen him at purple belt giving black belts a hard time.
Wow.
Really good black belts. And he moves. There is no staying still.
Yeah.
He's like a toddler with sugar.
Yeah.
he doesn't stop.
You can't control him.
You cannot stop him. It's very hard. And you know, that's the type of fighters that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Type of matches. There's another kid who's going to be on the card. His name's Graham. He's 17, blue belt, but he moves so well.
Yeah.
Like there's no stopping. You
Yeah.
know, you're going to have to be able to find a way to slow him down to make it a more competitive match if you're not being able to keep up.
Yeah. What do you think it is about Arte Suave that's different than other organizations when it comes to the matchmaking or the organization in general? What's that key factor that keeps you guys different and entertaining when it comes to being a competitor?
In comparison to other shows?
Yeah.
Honestly, I try not to pay too much attention to other shows.
Okay.
You know, you guys
Yeah.
do your thing, we'll do our thing, and
Right.
we'll let the consumer determine who's the more interesting one to watch.
Right.
But from like a fighter standpoint, I think the rule set the rule set definitely plays a big part. I think a lot of what's in IBJJF and, in other organizations like Jiu-Jitsu World League, there are a lot of rules that are put in place that I think slow down the growth of what you could do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we allow more opportunity for you to showcase jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Perfect example is we allow at blue belt in the gi, in the adult division, to do all leg locks except for heel hooks.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
Yeah,
there's no reason why
good.
you couldn't do a knee bar.
Right.
It's an arm bar on your leg. Tap when you feel the pressure. In no-gi, they're allowed at blue belt adult division to do all submissions. The only thing we don't allow is salams.
Yeah.
So I think it allows for what we were talking about earlier, these high-level coaches teaching these kids all of these moves from the beginning.
Yeah.
You look at even a 10th planet, any 10th planet, they're teaching their white belts heel hooks.
Right. Yeah.
Of
It's
course,
evolving nowadays, especially.
For sure.
Yeah.
And they're getting their fundamentals as well, but they're not saying, no, this is a forbidden portion for you until you reach brown belt.
Right.
I didn't start really learning leg locks until I was a purple belt.
Yeah.
And my thought process was, it's like farming. I'd rather plant the seed now and harvest in the future. So by the time I got to brown belt, I could be a little bit more well-versed instead of getting caught and losing every single tournament. But these guys are getting the opportunity through Arte Suave to do everything. Cost them nothing to go out there and showcase what they're learning or figure out what you need to improve on.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like the difference in your organization is like it doesn't cost to get on an Arte Suave card where, with World League and different other shows out there, you got to pay to be in those shows, and it costs a lot of money. Like we're talking $100 or more.
Yeah.
Sometimes to be a part of those cards, right?
And they also charge people that want to come watch you.
Right.
Spectators and stuff. It's a business. I get it, but we want the athletes to be able to have as much mat time as possible. And we have some guys that will follow the shows and they want to go on a whole bunch of them. There's actually a girl named Chelsea, I believe. She's from Chicago, and she comes down and she flies out for almost every show.
Wow.
to compete.
Wow.
She just wants mat time. And that's something we're willing to give.
Now, do you keep track of anybody's record in the organization, or is there like a master book that has these people's records somewhere for people that have competed just in Arte Suave? Obviously, you can't track all of their accomplishments or anything like that, but just for Arte Suave matches.
No, but it is something I would love to start doing.
Yeah.
It is something that Fredo and I have talked. We bounce ideas off each other often. And so, that is something I've mentioned to him that I would like to have on the back end, a way for us to do it. And so, it's something that we're going to work on, but for right now, no.
Yeah. And then, obviously this is a pretty fun question, but is there anybody that's banned from competing on an Arte Suave card for whatever reason? Completely banned.
I wouldn't say banned, but there are, let's say, a small handful of people that as an organization we're not interested in working with.
Yeah.
For one reason or another.
Right. Like how many we talking? A list of 10, a list of 20?
I could think of 3 right now off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah, I could think of 3. So I would say, a single handful of people that for one reason or another were just not interested in working together from a business perspective.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely, for whatever reason, right? But there's, being out there in the community, you're going to have people that reach out to you that you don't want to work with, right? And that's just a part of the game, right? You got to make those decisions, and as a company, you guys got to stay true to what you guys are looking to achieve in this thing, right?
Right.
So that's exciting. So being the matchmaker, is there a certain formula, or do you have like a computer program, or do you got like a whiteboard that you're writing names in to fill these cards? Once like we all see Dana White's screen in the back, right, where he has those list of names, and sometimes he's fucked up and he's filmed something and they see something in the back, right?
Right.
Do you have anything like that you work on when you're putting together a card, or how are these cards built from your standpoint?
Typically, we try to focus on the main and potentially the co-main event. Get those two wrapped up as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Not throwing shade on any other organization. People that are in this world will know without me saying the names. We don't like giving you a 1 week notice to compete.
Yeah.
Or ask you to lose a bunch of weight or sell a bunch of tickets with 1 week notice. In an ideal world, I'd like to have the entire card full by 6 weeks to 8 weeks out.
Yeah.
So that they have the opportunity to market, they have the opportunity to prepare, and put on the best performance that they can for themselves. Nobody wants to go out there and get whooped.
Yeah.
Because they didn't put in the effort. So from a building perspective, I have on my phone notes, and I create a different note for each event. And I put together what I think would be interesting matches. Sometimes they work out in the sense of being able to get them on, and sometimes they don't. So yeah, that's usually how I build it. Let's start with the mains. Sometimes there's theme events. So we have
those are probably a little bit easier to work with, right? Sometimes.
It depends.
Okay.
It depends.
Depends on the theme.
It depends on the theme. And by theme, I mean not necessarily like attire. Alfredo's done some of those before in the past. Like I was pushing for a while with Alfredo, and luckily he allowed this one. Was I wanted to do a unique card the next time we go down to SoCal, and I wanted to do 10th Planet versus the World.
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. And so when I was at ADCC, I met Eddie Bravo as a fan to take a picture.
Yeah.
And I think he got weirded out by me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, Don," this woman named Donna. He goes, "Hey, come over here and take a picture with us." And you look at the picture, it's so awkward. He's like leaning all the way towards her, and there's a big gap between me and him. And I took the opportunity to invite him to the show.
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, listen, we're gonna be in San Diego. I'm the matchmaker for Arte Suave, one of them at the time, because Alfredo was helping a lot. And I'd love to offer you and a guest a free ticket, VIP.
Yeah.
Come hang out, check out the show. Don't want anything from you, but just come hang out. It's jiu-jitsu, And then Donna had overheard me saying that, and she had heard that we were coming. So we started talking, and she's like his right-hand person.
Okay.
And so her and I developed a little bit of a friendship.
Yeah.
And we'd message each other, and she came to the show, and she really enjoyed the show.
Wow. Eddie didn't come?
He had a seminar he had to go to.
Okay.
So it's understandable. He's a busy guy. But Donna came in, and there were quite a few people from 10th Planet on the card. The main event was actually a 10th Planet fighter, Keith Kokorian.
Nice.
So we ended up continuing talking even after the show. And I had mentioned to her, like, hey, I would really love to do something like this. I think San Diego's market for 10th Planet can take that volume and be able to give me somebody from all these different categories.
Right.
And she said, yeah, for sure. And so took a little bit of convincing with Alfredo.
Yeah.
But luckily we have the event, and we were able to make some collaboration posts between Eddie Bravo, us, and 10th Planet Network and Donna to help build that card. And like I said earlier, there's roughly about 40 matches. Not all of them are going to be 10th Planet versus the World, because we do want to leave some out in case it's like an amazing matchup.
Right.
They just have no affiliation with those schools.
Yeah.
Or with 10th Planet, I should say.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's going to be like that. And we're going to do it a little bit different on this particular card, following in line with that theme process I was talking about. So that's 10th Planet versus the World, potentially up to 30 matches, let's say. And we're going to apply a point system to it.
Nice.
So if you win by decision, it's 1 point. If you win by submission, it's 3 points. And those points go towards your team.
Almost like the PGF type of scoring system, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Similar.
That's very cool.
So, but PGF's kind of doing it like in seasons.
Right.
And we're just trying to see how it works with a one-off. And I think the opportunity to kind of create some unity and rivalry at the same time.
Yeah.
And this particular card, well, one thing I do like about all the Arte Suave is they donate.
Yeah. To charity, right?
They donate to a charity,
Yeah.
correct. So I had, through that process, at talking with Alfredo, said, hey, we should contribute let me phrase that. We should donate to the wildfires that have happened down in LA, SoCal.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that have lost their homes.
Yeah.
And so we found a organization that's trying to help, it's a nonprofit that's helping people in jiu-jitsu who lost their homes.
Wow.
And so we're like, hey, this is a great opportunity
That's
for
huge, dude.
jiu-jitsu to give back to other people that are in need from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's huge, man. And like, there's nothing better than helping your fellow human being, you know,
Yeah.
and especially like it makes it even more sentimental that it's a jiu-jitsu family, right? And I was just talking with somebody the other day from down south, and you know, he's in Anaheim, and I was like, hey, did you guys have any students affected, you know? And he said, luckily we didn't have anybody, but you know, there's a lot of schools down here that, you know, 1 or 2 families, you know, lost everything. And you know, unless you've been in that situation, you don't really know what it's like. And you know, it's tragic and it's devastating for someone to look back and all their memories and you know, everything they worked hard for, you know, is just gone in the blink of an eye. And for Arte Suave doing that kind of stuff is huge, and I commend that. You know, that's huge, man. That's amazing that you guys are doing stuff like that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, this all started, I think, with you know, the original owners wanting to do stuff like this, and it's just been continuing on since.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm glad that I can have the opportunity to kind of help point the fingers in those areas. Kind of like back to the very first card I helped out on, Walnut Creek. They donated to a program called Guardian. They're starting to get really big now.
Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, at the time, I mean, they were good size, but nobody really knew much. Let me not say nobody. A good portion of people didn't know much about them, and so they are a nonprofit that provides free jiu-jitsu to underprivileged people, underprivileged kids.
Yeah.
That would otherwise be in the streets.
Right.
And so we took the proceeds from the Walnut Creek card, which actually ended up being the first sold out card ever, to donate to them.
Yeah. Those are the kids that really need jiu-jitsu, right?
Yes,
in
sir.
this world, you know, it's the challenge kid or the kid that grew up in a bad area, or maybe it grew up less fortunate or you know, without great role models in their lives. And you know, it's not always the kid that can afford all the free private lessons,
Right.
and you know, shit like that, right?
Right.
It's huge to be able to reach out to a different kind of environment and situation, man. And you know, you were talking earlier and saying, you know, there's about 40 matches on an Arte Suave card, and roughly you guys can get anywhere between, you know, 100 to 300 different applicants, or maybe more, maybe less. But what do you do with all of those other applicants? Do you try to keep them around to fill other cards that are coming up, or just kind of keep them on standby, or what's the process like with those people that don't make it on an Arte Suave card?
If they don't make it on, they don't make it on, to be as honest as possible. Yeah, there's not enough room. There's not enough time, right? You're looking at 4 to 5 hours of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And, you know, people don't want to stay past that unless it's ADCC where you're like sitting there for 12 hours.
Right.
But yeah, no, we don't get them on. However, if there's somebody like going back to my previous example, Xavier down at Atos, he was pushing really hard to get on. He was trying everything, and he was willing to fight anyone. Didn't matter what weight. The next time, if I didn't get him a match, he's gonna get a match the next time. I'm gonna prioritize him the same way I would like a main event or co-main event. Yeah. Because I know that particular kid wants to get on, and I think it's important for them to have those opportunities.
Yeah, especially like, I mean, you know, me and Alfredo were kind of talking about it. I said these matches don't really count towards like a professional record. He said some people keep track of their super fight records.
They do.
And that's cool, you know, but regardless how you look at it, it's that time on the mats, right? And you can't replace that time on the mats for anything, and you got to have it to get good at jiu-jitsu. And it's good for these kids to be able to test themselves. It's good for adults to be able to test themselves.
Yeah.
And really challenge themselves. A lot of people use these tournaments to sometimes get ready for bigger ones out there.
Yep.
So that's another plus. And, you know, you got to have the reps, right? If you're going for like an ADCC Open, you know, you're going to try to get on as many cards as you can to get ready for something like that, right?
For sure. And that was actually a contributing factor to us moving our Las Vegas card. We were supposed to be, and Alfredo mentioned it on his podcast with you, that we had originally had picked a date in Las Vegas, and then ADCC San Diego got released the date, and we were just like, fuck, all right, we're going to have to move it, and so let's move it forward, giving people the opportunity to get that last little tune-up match for ADCC. So, yeah, it's important for people to have that mat time, and the more time you have, the better athlete you think you're going to be.
Yeah. What's a standout match that you can think of that either you have made personally or somebody in the Arte Suave organization has made that was just one of the best matches that you can remember? Obviously, you're a big fan of this, so I'm sure you keep up. You've been to a lot of the shows. So, what's one of the standout matches that you can remember that really stands out to you?
Man, it's so hard to narrow down, to be honest with you. There's so many good matches. There was one that really impressed me. Is this kid named Jackson Steele.
Okay,
From Lodi.
From Strive.
From Strive, yeah. He's here in Lodi.
Tough kid, man.
Yeah, really tough kid. He was supposed to fight a kid out of 10th Planet named Johnny. I'm going to brutalize his last name, sorry. Mezareski, I believe is how you say it. And Johnny's just a phenom. Young, talented kid. And unfortunately, Johnny got hurt. And so we were scrambling to find a replacement because it was for a title match.
How much time did you guys have to get that done?
A week.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's down to the wire.
Yeah, it was a week. We had a week. He ended up pulling out a week before the event. You know, unfortunately, injury happened. I get it. But Jackson had put in the work. Yeah. And I know Manny, the owner of Strive, and I know he's going to push him.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to be all wasted. So we tried really hard to find somebody, and I actually ended up getting a DM from a kid out of Renzo Gracie Reno named Isaac.
Okay.
And Isaac messaged saying, hey, I'll take that fight. And Isaac was actually 10 pounds less than Jackson on 1 week notice and came in, and they had a war, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Nonstop. They did not stop. And Isaac ended up winning.
Yeah.
Very impressed with that. Very impressed with that. Stay ready.
Right.
There's that. And then another one that I made, I actually had to go down to the guy's academy and talk to him because I was like, man, I really want you on this card.
Yeah.
And I think I have a really good opportunity for you, but it's no gi. And he's mostly a gi fighter. His name's Cam King, trains out of Cesar Gracie, Pleasant Hill.
Okay.
And I went down to the academy and talked to him, and he was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And he was fighting Alex Canders, who's the Walnut Creek 10th Planet owner.
Okay.
And it was a great match, back and forth.
Yeah.
Very similar to ADCC style vibes where they were off the mats and submissions, and we're moving people out of the way, moving chairs, and let them have fun. Let them go out there and scrap.
Right.
So yeah, those fights, seeing those come to fruition are really fun.
Yeah. And you know, obviously Arte Suave is always evolving and always getting better. I talked to Alfredo, and he says they like to put something back into the show to, you know, improve the quality or improve something about the show each time. You said you could be a part of that. What are some of the famous things that you might have been a part of in innovating the Arte Suave organization? And then what are some ideas that you have for the future of Arte Suave in your ideas?
As far as innovating, most of it's on the back end. I don't know how much Alfredo wants me to talk about. Obviously, there's competition out there.
Yeah.
Some of it's proprietary,
right?
You know, in quotes. So I don't want to say too much about what's been done on the back end, but a lot of stuff that's been done on the back end has helped with the matchmaking significantly.
Yeah.
Made it a lot easier than when I first started.
Yeah. Nowadays you could use AI software for that kind of stuff, you know? Like it's very possible to build different programs and things to do something like that, right?
For sure, yeah. And living in the Bay Area, I have a lot of friends in tech.
Yeah.
So some of them are just hardcore AI nerds.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to help me build AI platforms to incorporate into the website if need be.
Right.
So it's fun seeing stuff like that. But
yeah.
As far as on the things I'd be comfortable talking about on the front end, one of the ideas that I would like to start seeing, and I don't know how hard it would be, is I think that part of being on the shows, as far as mat time's good, but also marketing for them, marketing for us. So we started doing some hype videos to kind of help build some of the cards, similar to like a UFC embedded. So we've been going out and
I like those
filming the fighters. So we actually just did. We're going to be doing 4 of them for this next card coming up in San Jose. And I would like to also see like on the graphics of the pay-per-view, where it has their name, I would like to see their Instagram handles.
Yeah.
Allow them the opportunity to
Something
gain
small, but it's huge, right?
It helps them gain more followers, which in turn can help gain sponsors and so on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not just a name.
Right.
I want them to market themselves as well and feel like, hey, when I go on that particular promotion, I gain 100 to 200 to 300 followers.
Yeah.
And that adds up, especially when you're talking to sponsors.
Oh yeah, dude, it's huge. And these guys, what they're doing is they're getting on these cards, but they're also striving to be on bigger shows, you know, and maybe get to those who's number one cards one day and ADCC trials and those kind of shows that are out there, and you know, kind of get a taste of the big time, right? What does it feel like to promote something? Or you know, like Flow Grappling's always innovating new shows, and they had that reality show Who's Next or whatever, and that one was pretty good. But like, I mean, those guys had to be marketable, you know, and
100%.
And now they're kind of everywhere, right? Andrew Tackett was on that show. He's all over the place, you know, and you know, there's just names like that. J-Rod, right? He was on that show as a youngster, so he didn't even make it on.
We actually already have somebody that's actually going to be doing that. So back to what I was saying earlier, Paige Yvette, friend of mine. She made her black belt debut with us in San Luis Obispo, and the next Who's Number One card she's fighting.
Wow,
she's
that's
fighting,
exciting, man.
On that card, she's going to be on the main event, not the undercard.
Yeah,
she's very talented, and
we
want to help build more avenues like that.
Yeah, and that's huge for people. Like, I mean, you don't know what you're doing for someone's like life. I mean, in reality, you know, like you're giving these people an outlet for something that may take them to the next level in life, and it's really important, you know, having an organization that will do this. And you guys put a lot out there, you know, I mean, it doesn't sound like there's much report behind it besides just putting another show on, and you know, a lot of you guys are just fans of this sport. And, we need this kind of stuff to keep it growing the way it is, and you know, to keep it gaining momentum and gaining steam. So I think it's important what you're doing, man, and I love it. I love what the Arte Suave organization's doing in the future. Alfredo kind of hinted at some certain things that may be coming around the summertime, and so I'm excited to see where this goes.
His blueprints.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this, man. And you know, obviously there's good shows. I talk about it all the time. You know, CJI, you're wearing the shirt actually. Craig Jones Invitational. They're very innovative, and you know, and there's lots of different things going on in the jiu-jitsu community, and UFC now is hosting their own jiu-jitsu fights. And, you know, it's only getting bigger and bigger from there, and you know, I'm excited to see where Arte Suave goes from here.
Me too. Yeah. I like to joke around with Alfredo and say like, we're CJI light.
Yeah.
He's like the Craig Jones. He's willing to put himself out there and do some really off the wall stuff.
He's got the personality, that's for sure.
It's stuff I wouldn't do. And I'm more like the Seth of CJI. I'm like quiet, more in the background.
Right.
This is about as much conversation as you'll get out of me in this podcast, you know?
In business, you need those personalities, right? You need somebody that's kind of laid back, kind of quiet, right? Doing work behind the scenes, but necessarily doesn't want to be noticed at anything. Then you need a personality like Alfredo has, man, at the front lines, you know, being out there and promoting the hell out of these shows, dude. It's really incredible. We like to have fun on here, man, and sometimes we play these games overrated or underappreciated. We throw out some grapplers, some jiu-jitsu, MMA guys, and you just throw out your opinion if you think they're overrated or underappreciated.
My personal opinion.
Okay. No affiliations, nothing matters. We're just having fun.
All right.
Trying to keep it lighthearted. Overrated or underappreciated. I'm gonna go with somebody that hasn't really done much in jiu-jitsu in a while, but had a big name, the Hillbilly Hammer, man, Jacob Couch. Where he's at in jiu-jitsu right now, overrated or underappreciated?
I would say he's underappreciated. I mean, the guy's really talented. If you ever meet him off the mats, super nice guy.
Yeah.
Willing to talk to you, take pictures. I have a friend who's since moved to Texas. Her name's Bailey. We ran into him at ADCC, another friend, and we told him that she has a big crush on you. She has a really big crush on you. Do you mind if we get a video with you saying hi to her and just kind of giving her a hard time? And he was willing to play along and have fun.
Yeah,
and so,
that's cool.
I think that's important too. Being able to, that's what makes jiu-jitsu beautiful, in my opinion, is you can reach out to that high level guy and say, hey man, I would love to have a private lesson with you, or, you know, can I book a seminar with you, or something to that effect, or even just in passing. You do jiu-jitsu, I do jiu-jitsu. We both love this art.
Right.
You just happen to be better at it than me.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, dude, it's such a, like, jiu-jitsu people have a crazy connection. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. You never see jiu-jitsu people like getting into like crazy arguments with each other. You know, everyone's always even killed, you know?
Yeah.
Like pretty chill.
An acquaintance of mine, his name is Bash. He got his black belt from Legion recently. And they had released on their Instagram his black belt speech, and it really resonated with me. He was saying that it's cliche to say that you meet some of the best friends here through jiu-jitsu, but it really is true. And the reasons why he described it was that you get to train with someone as hard as possible, trying to not hurt each other on purpose, but you're trying to get the person to submit. It builds a lot of trust immediately.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. It's crazy.
I don't have to know you well to know that I can trust you.
Yeah.
And through this art, you develop some really good friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I talk about it all the time. You know, some of the guys I met in 2005 are still my best friends to this day, and it's wild to really think about. We've all been in each other's weddings. We've all seen each other's families grow up, and you know, it's just wild, but it's true. You know, you have a real trust, and it creates a crazy bond with these people. Did you happen to see Marcelo Garcia and I believe Eminari go at it? I think it was a couple nights ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
I did watch some of the Instagram like highlights of it.
Yeah.
So I saw that Marcelo tapped him with a north-south choke. Yeah. Of course.
Right. Right. It was exciting to see Marcelo Garcia get back out there, especially after everything he experienced with cancer.
Yeah.
And you know, that battle, he didn't know if he was going to live or not at one point, it sounded like. And, you know, he's doing, it seems like pretty good to this day, and impressive to see him get back out there.
Yeah. I there's always arguments about, you know, Gordon being the no-gi goat, or like my opinion, Hodger being the gi goat. But Marcelo is the pound for pound goat.
Yeah.
If he was the same size as all these guys, I think he would top them all.
Yeah. Absolutely. Marcelo Garcia, dude, like he was just always a legend.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you look back at the old school ADCC, man, Marcelo Garcia was handling shit, dude.
Even in the gi.
Yeah.
He's won five world titles in the gi.
Yeah.
He's won 4 ADCC titles. So he's more accomplished than the gi.
Yeah.
I just think that marketing in ADCC is a lot higher.
Right. Right. So let's go back to overrated, underappreciated. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of good guys out there making a name, but J-Rod had a really good run at ADCC. Overrated or underappreciated J-Rod?
Might be controversial, but I would say is a little bit overrated personally. Very talented. Could definitely kick my butt.
Yeah.
But when you put him against extremely talented people, example, Tynan.
Yeah.
Tynan's not even a no-gi guy.
Yeah.
And his fundamentals were so high level that he was able to overcome this, I say this in a nice way, spazzy movements that J-Rod was able to put together through his youth and his wrestling.
Yeah. A good gi guy, though, knows how to slow him down, right?
Yeah.
In a no-gi atmosphere even, right?
Yeah.
They still know there's control points, and there's the times to use them to kind of slow down the movements, right?
For sure.
But yeah, we see a lot more of those wrestler type spaz outs, and you know that's the kind of the downside of you know what I say about no-gi. I'm not a huge fan of no-gi as much because you know you don't have to be great at jiu-jitsu to escape an armbar in no-gi, right? Mm-hmm. You can slip out of a lot of stuff. So
I think Fionn Davies, she actually said it best. She said, you know, no-gi. Don't quote me, sorry. I think she said something to the effect of like no-gi's not real jiu-jitsu because when she escapes stuff, she's like, well, that wouldn't work in the gi.
Yeah.
That's not the way it is. I don't agree with that opinion per se. I do think that there is a viable room for gi and no gi, and doing both is important. I think they're both important personally. But the escapes that you can do in no gi, you most of the time can't do in the gi.
You're stuck.
Yeah. You have to, and that's going back to the rule set of Arte Suave.
Right.
They allow heel hooks in the gi at brown and black.
Yeah. All submissions legal, right?
All submissions legal. And so with that, you can't just roll out. You can't just roll out of a heel hook and spin or try to kick your way out of it and lean on the sweat and athleticism.
Yeah.
And your cardio tank. You have to have good fundamental
technical
techniques.
jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Exactly, to escape that. Otherwise, you're going to get caught.
Right. Yeah. Alfredo and I were talking a lot about that, escaping a heel hook. If you just roll out of it, that's not the way to really technically escape a heel hook. So it's not going to help you out. And even sent me a video the next day after being on the show of an example of these guys just rolling and rolling and rolling. And I was like, yeah, 100%, dude. But yeah, it is common, but I love that rule in Arte Suave, right? Do you see many heel hooks in those gi matches or anything like that you can think of?
There have been, that I remember. There's about 4 or 5. Anthony Mercado, who's been on here, I think he has the record right now for the most heel hooks in the gi.
I think I've seen Manny do it, Moreno.
Yeah, Manny's done it. Just talking about just quantity.
Yeah.
I think Anthony's done the most. I think he has 2 or 3 in the gi.
Okay.
And I think Alfredo has 1 and Manny has 1. But Manny's is the most high level.
Yeah.
you know, Jamil Hill, tapping Jamil Hill with a heel hook is pretty fucking impressive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that.
I was the ref for that match, and I felt really... I tell all the fighters the exact same thing whenever I'm the ref. I say, hey, I'm not going to stop this fight unless you tap.
Yeah.
So just letting you know, you're not going to get an early stoppage. You have to tap.
Right.
And I could hear Manny's foot just breaking apart from the straight ankle lock that Jamil had on him.
Yeah.
And he hit him with the Uno reverse.
Yeah.
and he got him with the heel hook, and he had to tap.
Yeah.
It was very impressive.
Yeah. How many have you taken any late notice Arte Suave fights, or how many have you taken?
Myself?
Yeah.
No, I haven't fought with them since the purple belt. I've been hitting it hard with the IBJJF at brown belt. And then when I got my black belt, I just took a little break. I needed to recharge the batteries, to be honest with you.
And it's a little different at black belt, right? You want to find some good matchups. You want to find some good technical, jiu-jitsu people out there, like, to make a good debut for your black belt as well, right?
For sure. Yeah, and I was actually fighting through some injuries, as you can see. I'm in a sling right now. And so I wanted to recharge the batteries, but also try to see if I can overcome some of the injuries that I got throughout the brown belt time.
What caused the shoulder, if you don't mind talking about it, what happened with the shoulder and what caused it to really get to the point where it needed surgery?
Like, how did the injury happen?
Yeah, the initial one, or if it was a continuous thing, just talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it was a single event.
Yeah.
It was a single event. I was rolling with this purple belt. And I was
unnamed.
We'll keep it unnamed. We'll keep it unnamed. And I was rolling with this purple belt, and I was having my way with him, and tapped him a few times in this 6-minute round, because we do 6-minute rounds at Ralph Gracie Berkeley. And I was like, man, this is not that it was boring, but I wanted, I need to improve. And each round needs to be something that helps me.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'll let him pass my guard, because he couldn't pass my guard. And I was going to wait for him to get to a position where I felt some danger and then start moving. Yeah. And I waited about a half second too long and got caught in an Americana.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah. So, and I didn't want to tap. It was on. I knew it was on, but I still didn't want to tap, because I was like, fuck, I did this to myself.
Let it break, huh?
Kinda. And I was like, well, once I felt it pop, I was like, all right, I'm stuck. I got to tap. I don't want to rip apart my, rotator cuff or something. So I had to tap. And then from then on, I just beat the shit out of him after that. He also doesn't know that he gave me this injury, but he knows I go hard with him nonstop now.
He understands. My buddy Chris and I, we were rolling at my house one time, and dude, he catches me in an arm bar. It was a deep arm bar, and I was like, okay, like, I think I could get out of this still, right? And I go to pull, and it gets deeper, and he's like really cranking on this fucker. And so then my like last ditch effort was to step on his bicep and just try to yank my shit out. And my arm goes pop, pop, pop. And I was like, oh shit, man. Like, what are you trying to do here, man? You trying to break my shit in our garage? But it's funny sometimes, man. Like,
yeah,
I should have just tapped right off the bat. It was a good arm bar. I should have gave it to him.
you know, when you're the person in the submission, you know when it's on.
Oh,
but
yeah.
when you're the person doing it, I could be cranking as hard as I want. I
Right.
don't know it's on until you tap,
Right.
or it breaks.
Yeah.
And so that's your responsibility to
Yeah.
tap. And in that situation, me and you, we both were like,
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking tap. Fuck you.
Have you ever broken anyone's shit by in competition?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't broken anybody's bones, but I have unfortunately hurt some people in competition to where they have gone to the medic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt anybody.
Right,
To be honest
right.
with you, you know, I know it's competition, but I'm in the masters division, so we all
Right.
have jobs and
Yeah,
families, man. You
yeah.
know, so it's like, listen, this is competition, my friend. We're here to learn and get
Yeah.
better and grow, but I'm not trying to hurt you.
Right.
If it was a street fight, that's different.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
I agree with the philosophy of Frank Mir.
Yeah.
I'm gonna break your fucking arm, and then I'm gonna choke you unconscious.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna stop after I break your arm.
Yeah, you can't, dude. There's people that could survive a broken arm. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, if you look back at that Frank Mir Tim Sylvia fight, right?
Yeah, he
and that's
wanna
a
fight.
famous one, right? He was still down to fight.
Yep.
And if that happens on the streets, I mean, you don't know what can happen. You know, they could pull out a knife,
Yep.
pull out a gun. You're dead. You
Yeah.
know, so it's something really serious, like to think about. And even my instructor, he's always like. My instructor says choke them first, right? They're asleep, then you can break their arm, then they wake up with a broken arm or broken leg, and yeah, good luck trying to fight me then, buddy.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just you never know how people are going to react to that.
For sure. Chokes
Yeah.
always work. Doesn't matter what you're on.
You were talking to me a little bit before the show about you had a chance and an opportunity to go to the Holy Land in Brazil and talk about what it was like competing in Brazil and getting to experience that.
Brazil's amazing. I loved it. There was not one thing I didn't enjoy. Everything, the culture, the weather, the people, the food. Oh my God. So good.
Yeah,
If
Brazilian steakhouses are pretty famous here in the United States, but they
they're
got really good meat, right?
And they're nothing compared to the ones in Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. The stuff that the food there is so good. So good. It's, yeah. I honestly, like I've traveled a lot when I was younger and I would try to stick to food that I knew.
Yeah.
Which was kind of, as I got older, a little bit more of a regret. So I was like, well, I'm going to try everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I'm hungry. I want to try it. And there was not one bad meal I had in Brazil. Not one. Everything was delicious. The people are amazing. I know I said that, but it's worth saying again.
Yeah.
And being able to train in jiu-jitsu in Brazil,
Yeah,
just train,
Right.
was a surreal moment. I was just like, man, I'm in Brazil,
Yeah.
on the mats, rolling with someone that doesn't speak the same language as me.
Right. But you guys are communicating.
But we're
through
communicating through
jiu-jitsu.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And being able to move and feel that history. You know, I'm looking on the mats while I was at an academy down there, and I see 5th, 4th degree black belts, 20 black belts, and that's just they're just training every day, and you know, it's really nice to see.
Right.
But yeah, I loved it in Brazil. It was
Yeah.
beautiful, and I think anyone that trains jiu-jitsu should have the opportunity to go at least once.
What place did you get a visit in Brazil? Like, what area were you in?
I was in Sao Paulo.
Okay, Sao Paulo.
Yeah, I was in Sao Paulo there for just shy of 2 weeks.
Okay.
I went with my coach, Eduardo Fraga, and a small group from Ralph Gracie, Berkeley. It ended up being kind of important for my coach, which we found out later, that we were the first group of Americans he's brought back to Brazil to compete.
Wow.
He had taught in Brazil for a long time, and he's been up here for, I think, 15 or 20 years, something like that.
Okay.
Don't quote me on either one of those. But he's been here for a long time.
Yeah.
And he's gone back to Brazil to compete himself, and he's gone back with other Brazilians to compete. But this is the first time bringing a group of Americans that he's taught. And so we ended up, I think there was, let me see. There was 5 of us, and we left with 1 gold and 1 silver.
Nice.
And we competed at the Brasileiros.
Yeah, that's
which is
very cool.
their toughest tournament in Brazil.
Right.
just for one reason or another, because of either visa issues or financial issues.
Right.
Some people just can't come.
Tell me how that tournament works exactly. Does it cost to get into it? Do you have to pay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You pay with their currency. Their currency, I believe, is pronounced reais.
Okay.
I think it was like $40 American to sign up, which
Not
is
too bad. Yeah.
no, it's nothing compared to what you normally pay for IBJJF event.
Right.
But it's not IBJJF; it's CBJJ, I believe, is the
Yeah.
organization.
There's
but
a
it's like
few
a
other
sister.
ones,
It's like a
yeah.
sister organization to
Right.
IBJJF. So you sign up just like any other organization, or just like any other IBJJF event, I should say. And you go down there, and the one thing that they do down there that I really liked was, if you want your swag, like your shirts that you give you at every competition, you have to donate food. And outside of the venue, there is a tent, and they sell 1 kilo bag of rice or 1 kilo bag of beans. And you would buy that, and then when you go inside, you give them that, and they'd give it to families in need.
Wow.
And so it kind of felt a little bit like Arte Suave.
Yeah.
Giving back. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, this is great. I have no problem doing that. I love that. In
Right.
fact, here, give me more. I'll buy a
Yeah.
few more bags and give them. And just because
Right.
I know it's going to help somebody.
Yeah. That's huge, man.
Yeah.
That's
And
huge.
so the atmosphere is really nice. The Brazilians go hard for jiu-jitsu in
Yeah.
Brazil. Even at white belt, people were screaming and yelling, having a good time.
Were there issues with anybody not wanting to tap because you were an American or anything like that you experienced?
Probably in the main event. The main event. Sorry, I'm so used to Arte Suave. In the finals.
Yeah.
In the finals, when I got to the finals, I don't think the guy wanted to tap, so he ended up taking a nap instead.
Yeah.
But I did notice that the people that I was competing against, as soon as they lost, instead of leaving or whatever, they would be talking to the next opponent. I don't speak Portuguese,
Yeah.
but they're not from the same team.
Yeah.
They're not from the same area.
Right.
And they're communicating and coaching each other, and I can see them coaching while we're fighting.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's fine. I don't
Right.
mind, luckily I had my coach with me.
Right.
He helped me because there were some weird rules. I don't know if it was a one-off or if this is the way it was, but you weren't allowed to sweat. You weren't allowed to be sweaty when you checked in. But it's so humid down there. I'm just
it's
sweating
hard not
walking.
to sweat. Yeah. Close to the equator.
Yeah.
Like it's a different kind of heat.
Yeah, for sure. So like little weird rules like that, and not being able to speak the language is another thing, and then also the conversion to kilos.
Yeah.
So you had to learn a lot about that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a great experience. I really love it, and I can't wait to go back.
What was like the warm up area like? Did you have like your teammates with you, obviously warming up for your matches, or how was that whole environment? Did they want you on the mats?
For me personally, I don't really like warming up with my teammates. I have like this weird. I just don't want to be by myself.
Yeah. Everyone's different, right?
Yeah, I just want to be by myself. I want to tape up. I want to stretch, kind of give myself some affirmations, and just kind of say, okay, let's get out there and have fun, and at the end of the day, win or lose, just hope nobody gets hurt. That's me.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it could be like a hostile territory, like being in Brazil at a Brazilian tournament, like you can definitely imagine like, people get nervous in America doing a tournament. Like, can you imagine like everyone's staring at you like, hey, who's this fucking American guy going to come over here and try to make a name off of us?
Yeah, for sure. But like the people that were friends and the academies that we had trained at while we were down there, just to kind of keeping the weight off.
Yeah.
They were all supportive of us.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Cheering us on,
Yeah.
They understood that we're here because we love the sport just as much as you.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting, man. Like, I feel like if you train jiu-jitsu, it's a good idea to at least consider going to Brazil at some point.
You have to.
I was talking to a friend of mine who's from Brazil, and we had a nice long conversation the other night and talking about visiting Brazil. He was just there for, I think it was like a few weeks or a month. And he got to get his stripe from his professor, and that's huge. Going back to Brazil to get a degree on your black belt, that's huge and impressive for anybody, right?
Yeah, when it comes to jiu-jitsu, obviously you never want to take a guess at when you're getting promoted. I was a brown belt at the time, And I was like, man, this would be cool to get my black belt on the podium in Brazil. But I really want my family with me.
Yeah.
And so I'd rather not get it, which is fine. You know, it ended up working out the way it worked out, which is for me better because my family was there.
Right.
But it would have been cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, getting it in Brazil, dude, that would have been huge.
After winning Brasileiros, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's like the dream of most people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like I said earlier with my coach, it was his first time bringing a group of Americans. I've never seen him smile so much.
Yeah.
It was amazing. We went back to his family's house and he was bragging everybody, like, show him the medal, show him the medal. And he was really happy. And even people that don't train jiu-jitsu, they understand because of the culture.
Yeah.
And they were all very happy for me too.
Right.
So it was fun.
What were the training sessions like in Brazil? Obviously, you know, you're getting used to the time difference. You're getting used to the humidity. I talked to someone that went and they said it was pretty much training all day long, like morning, noon, and night. You know, there's early sessions, midday sessions, and several evening sessions you usually go to.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to train. There's so many schools out there. I don't know how inviting all the schools are going to be per se. I think as a foreigner there wouldn't be an issue, but I didn't want to travel too much by myself.
Yeah.
Just because it is a foreign country and
Right. You never know.
I couldn't tell the difference between the good neighborhoods and the bad neighborhoods, even though the group of people I was with could.
Yeah.
And that's because they're from there.
Right.
So I wanted to just kind of stick to the academies we were. But as far as opportunities to train, I mean, you can train pretty much anytime you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, you know.
Yeah.
And we got to after training, there's usually somewhere near an academy, there's like a park or something that has like people selling coconuts.
Oh, wow.
Fresh coconuts. And he'll chop them up for you right there and put some sugarcane juice in there, fresh sugarcane juice and some pineapple juice in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an experience that I didn't want to leave.
Right.
You know, if I didn't have a family, I wouldn't have come back. That's the truth.
Yeah. It's funny. You see a lot of Brazilians, they drink that coconut water. I wonder what it, like, I know it keeps you hydrated. That's probably huge there. If you're training a lot with the humidity, you know, it's probably huge to stay hydrated, I would think, you know?
Yeah. A lot of people were like, oh, we got to go get some coconuts after. And I'm not a fan of coconuts.
Yeah. I'm not huge on coconuts either.
I don't like them.
Yeah.
But when I was there, I was like, holy crap, this is really good.
It's like Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you got to try some poke.
Yeah. You got to try the meat of the land or whatever.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, man. It's been awesome having you on, brother. And I appreciate you getting to share a little bit of the insight on Arte Suave and what it's like being a matchmaker and, you know, all of the different things. I'm going to just give you a few minutes to kind of shout out whoever you'd like, take a few minutes to thank whoever you'd like for this experience. But just take a few minutes. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you first for having me on. Appreciate it. My first time doing a podcast, so hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Just trying to have a conversation, like, you know, regular conversation. Thank my training partners over at Ralph Gracie Berkeley, my coach, Eduardo Fraga. My jiu-jitsu has gotten really, really good with them. And I'd like to thank Alfredo, you know, for the opportunity to be a matchmaker for his organization. It's been really fun traveling with the group, meeting different people in different areas, and having opportunities like this.
Yeah.
You know, being able to be on a podcast.
Right, dude. And the sport is only growing, you know, and I'm excited to see you guys and I've already seen a ton of growth, you know, and I know the sky's the limit on what's going to happen next and the future plans, dude. And I'm excited to be a part of this, to talk to you guys, to kind of get some insight experience on what you guys go through on a daily basis. And, you know, I'm just really thrilled that you guys have been a part of this. And, thank you again, Don, for being a part of this. If they want to get a hold of you on Instagram, how do people go about that?
My personal Instagram is Jiu-Jitsu is Life, and then obviously the Arte Suave one. So if you want to match on the Arte Suave account, in the link in the bio, there's a fighter application. Fill it out. And then from there, I try to describe it to people as that's basically like creating an IBJJF account. That's all you're doing. If you want to have a match on a specific card, it's like signing up for an open. So you have an account, and then you sign up for the open. It's the same concept. Create the fighter profile, then apply for the events.
So if they've already created a fighter profile and they just have to apply for specific events that they want to be
Correct.
Okay.
At the bottom of each poster, or flyer, I should say, is a fighter application. And you just fill out your information. We started putting some more information in there to help us create more interesting matches for people. And so, yeah, the more people that sign up, the better.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you. That's
all right. Yeah. Awesome, brother. Well, get a hold of Don if you're looking for a match on Arte Suave. Other than that, go check out Arte Suave. When's the next card coming up? It's
February
Campbell,
5th.
right?
Yeah, February 15th, Campbell. We started putting all of the shows that we have locked up in our bio now on the Instagram for Arte Suave. So if you're not sure where we're going to be, you can either check the website, you can check the Instagram bio. But yeah, the next one's February 15th in San Jose. And then after that's March 22nd in Visalia.
Nice. Yeah, they're going to be here in California, so go check them out. Obviously, follow Don and the Arte Suave page on Instagram. Thank you all for downloading Grapplers Talk and being a part of this movement in grappling. This has been another great episode. This is Dave, and we are out.
This is Grapplers Talk.